Even after finding that dent on the outer rim, I'm still going to go ahead and clean up the sprockets and center hub as well as brake cover. As those are likely parts that I'll be reusing, I'll probably only buy the rim and hub assembly, not the complete brake and sprocket assembly, because there's no need to spend the money on a complete one when the one I have here is absolutely sufficient. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, the sprockets look, now that I've cleaned them up a little bit, they look very close to new. At least the rear one does. Which I would believe it would make sense, simply because based on one of the broken engine side covers, the chain cover on the engine actually, it had clearly thrown a chain at some point and smashed part of the cover out. So someone had obviously let it go far too long, and after it snapped and smashed the cases, they probably replaced the chain and sprockets. And I'm not really sure, to be honest, how long after that this thing was ridden. Although there was a new chain on it, so it was ridden probably at least once or twice. Either way, I see no reason not to reuse this sprocket. Now, having cleaned all the bits and pieces in the solvent tank, it's as clean as they're going to get, it's definitely become more and more evident that that rear brake is definitely what parked this thing, obviously, since it couldn't have ridden with the rear brake the way it was, since the rear tire wouldn't even turn. But what I find interesting is that the bike shows no sign of being crashed, and that the tank's not dented, the side covers aren't broken, and there's a little scuffs on a couple of the engine covers, but nothing I'd attribute to any kind, like, something that'd be more attributed to like a parking lot low speed drop than anything, I think, fast enough to smash this the way it did. I suppose it could have failed in a parking lot at low speed. I mean, it definitely torqued the rear wheel over pretty hard since it bent the chain adjuster here, so it just reefed the rear wheel right over. So I have to replace that bolt, most definitely. Everything else cleaned up nicely. All the springs are nice and shiny again. Unfortunately, the brake actuator, the chrome, is beyond saving. I'll probably just paint that silver like everything else, and it'll blend right in. As far as the rear sprocket, I'm not going to paint the sprocket. It's just getting covered in grease again. I'll probably remove the sprocket. I'll probably paint the back hub here. Same silver as everything else. And I probably won't paint the little retaining strips here. I'll probably just wire wheel and clean them up. And I'll probably wire wheel the sprocket as well, just to get it nice and clean. Well, I may paint it. We'll see. So now we'll remove the rear sprocket retainers, so we can take the rear sprocket off here and give it a clean. I'm just using a flat-headed screwdriver here as a punch. I guess you could use a punch. I find a flat-bladed screwdriver works best for me. Had this soaking in the solvent tank, so hopefully the bolts don't put up too much of a fight. Oh, look at that. That one's actually loose. Another good reason why you be really careful about riding things that have been sitting for too long. Not that it would go anywhere, it is retained, but it should really be snug, at the very least. Tight, preferably. So, armed with a 14mm socket, let's tear this thing apart. Well, there's a lot to tear apart. However, oh jeez, these are all finger tight. Except for one. Okay, so one was tight, if you can call it that. Wow. That's just... Well, as I've said before, that's on par with the rest of the bike. I mean, you don't have to... I can understand... Not everybody has the money to do a perfect restoration. I mean, I'm not doing a perfect restoration here. I'm making it look good, and I'm doing a good job where it matters. And in a lot of places it doesn't. But, you know, no matter how little money you're spending, there's no excuse for loose bolts like this. I mean, if you could get them off, you can get them on. Even with a bloody crescent wrench, you could tighten those up. I mean, Jesus. Yeah, we'll take those to the wire wheel and get them nice and clean. Same with the sprocket. I think we'll give it a quick once over on the wire wheel just to take off what the solvent didn't. See how clean we can get it. Same with the bolts. Although you'll see the back ends of them, but whatever, may as well. Clean up this outer surface here. There's a bearing in here. Which I will be replacing, since it is... Actually, this one's not too bad, but I have the kit, so it doesn't make any sense not to replace it. What the... It's interesting. Much to my surprise, this isn't really a seal. I don't think. It looks more like a... If I had to take a guess, I'd say it's more of a cap. That may be reusable. That's very interesting. Very clever. Very interesting. It's got numbers on it like a seal. Got some lips. No spring inside it. Or even the ridge to hold one. It's still pliable. I don't know if my kit came with that seal or not. If it didn't, I wouldn't be totally at odds with using this one again. It's not a pressurized application, it's really just to keep dirt and water out of the bearings. Like I said, the inner surface, the sealing surface, is still pliable. I mean, it is possible this was replaced at some point. Maybe when they did the chain after it broke. Which is interesting, because I had initially surmised that this bike had been parked not simply because of the broken rear brake, but because of the engine. I guess that was a false assumption. It was definitely the brake that parked it. I think the engine would have ran, albeit poorly, the way it was assembled. Very noisily. Yeah, I think that's very reusable. Some of you may hate me for that, but there's no reason to replace good parts. Bearing. on the other hand, also looks semi-serviceable. Like I said though, I think I have a replacement, so we'll more than likely just do that. So we'll knock this out. Maybe we won't. Don't think there's a retainer in there, a clip of any kind. So it should just punch out. Nice if I had a piece of dowel that would fit in there. Here we go. Give that a shot. Now we're getting somewhere. That is a stout bearing. And it's actually still good. Sign of water. Grease is good. Like I said, I think I have a replacement for that, but I also wouldn't really mind reusing that if I came down to it. Alright. So, next up, give this one last rinse in the solvent tank. I'll rinse out the bearing too, because if I ever use it, it'll definitely get repacked with grease. Quick trip to the wire wheel, and we'll see how these clean up. So, hardware all cleaned up quite nicely. Nice and shiny once again. The nuts and bolts are clean. The hub actually cleaned up beautifully. There was a brief moment where I considered polishing it instead of painting it. But considering where it lives and how dirty and grimy it is and how hard it'd be to get to polish again, it's gonna get a lick of paint. No two ways about it. Just easier to keep clean. That's the big one. And the sprocket, it cleaned up nicely too. Ah, you can even see the original stamping on it. 43,530. I have to check to see if that's the original gearing or not. I don't know offhand. Very well could be, probably is. Don't see why it wouldn't be. But yeah. So, give those a clean, get everything ready. Probably give them a coat of paint before you see them again next, which will then leave just me to get a new rear rim. And it's the big honking dent on this one I really don't like. I mean, the tire holds air, so it's obviously not an issue in terms of the sealing surface, but I'm sure I can find a rim in better shape that doesn't have a big honking dent in it or any bent spokes. So that'll be the next one. So that'll be part 2. Part 2 will be the reassembly of all of this. I'll hopefully have all that painted, and then for part 2 I will definitely have a new rim, and I'll probably have this polished up as well, as best I can anyways. We'll see. I'm rather torn on whether to paint this or polish it as well, though it probably will get polished. We'll find out. It'll be a surprise.